What if the most exhausting conversations you have every day happen with no one else in the room? You turn off the lights, put your phone down, close your eyes, and suddenly your brain decides it's the perfect time to replay every mistake, imagine every possible future, and question everything about your life. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. But what if there's a psychological reason why your mind becomes so loud exactly when everything else becomes quiet? Have you ever noticed that problems which seem manageable during the day suddenly feel enormous at night? A conversation you barely thought about at lunch becomes a source of regret before bed. A small uncertainty about your future transforms into a life crisis. An embarrassing moment from years ago somehow reappears as if it happened yesterday. It's almost as if your brain changes personalities after sunset. This experience is so common that psychologists have spent decades studying why it happens. And the answer isn't that you're weak, anxious, or incapable of controlling your thoughts. In fact, your brain is doing something it was designed to do. The problem is that in our modern world, this natural process often turns against us. During the day, your attention is constantly pulled in different directions. Work demands your focus. Conversations occupy your mind. Notifications interrupt your thoughts. Even simple tasks like driving, cooking, or shopping keep your brain engaged. There is very little room for uninterrupted thinking. But nighttime changes everything. The distractions disappear. The emails stop. The conversations end. The house becomes quiet. And suddenly your brain has something it rarely gets anymore: uninterrupted mental space. Many people believe they start overthinking because something is wrong with them. In reality, the silence simply allows thoughts that were already there to rise to the surface. Imagine shaking a bottle filled with water and sand all day long. As long as you keep shaking it, everything stays mixed together. But once you set the bottle down, the particles slowly settle, revealing what was hidden inside. Your mind works in a surprisingly similar way. The quiet doesn't create your thoughts. It reveals them. There's another fascinating reason why overthinking feels stronger at night. As your body prepares for sleep, certain parts of your brain become less active, especially the areas responsible for logical decision-making and emotional regulation. At the same time, your emotional brain doesn't simply switch off. This means that late at night, emotions often become louder while rational thinking becomes slightly quieter. That's why a small concern can suddenly feel overwhelming at midnight. You've probably experienced this before. Maybe you received an email that wasn't completely clear. During the afternoon, you barely noticed it. But at 11 o'clock that night, your brain starts asking endless questions. Did they sound upset? Did I say something wrong? Am I about to lose an opportunity? Nothing actually changed. Only your mental state did. Researchers sometimes refer to this as the nighttime amplification effect. The emotional weight of thoughts increases because your brain has fewer resources available to evaluate them objectively. It's almost like trying to judge the size of shadows after the sun goes down. Everything looks larger than it really is. Then there's the strange relationship between uncertainty and the human brain. Your brain dislikes unanswered questions. Thousands of years ago, uncertainty could mean danger. Not knowing where food was or whether a predator was nearby could literally determine survival. So evolution rewarded brains that constantly searched for answers. The problem is that today's uncertainties are very different. Will this relationship work out? Did I choose the right career? What if I fail? What will happen 5 years from now? These questions don't have immediate answers, yet your brain keeps searching for them as if enough thinking will eventually produce certainty. But some questions cannot be solved through thinking alone. They can only be answered by living. That realization changes everything. Overthinking often disguises itself as problem solving. It feels productive because you're mentally working very hard. But there's an important difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection moves you toward understanding. Rumination keeps you moving in circles. Imagine sitting in a rocking chair. You're constantly moving, yet you're never actually going anywhere. That's exactly what many nighttime thoughts become. The same conversations replay. The same worries return. The same imagined scenarios repeat themselves with different endings. Hours pass, but nothing is resolved. Here's something many people don't realize. Your brain doesn't distinguish very well between vividly imagined experiences and real emotional reactions. If you imagine failing an important presentation tomorrow, your heart may begin beating faster. If you replay an argument from last week, your body can experience stress as though it's happening again. Your thoughts become emotional experiences. This creates a cycle. Stress produces more worrying thoughts. More worrying thoughts produce more stress. And the cycle feeds itself. Social media has quietly made this even worse. Every evening, millions of people spend their last hour scrolling through carefully edited versions of other people's lives. Someone just bought a house. Someone got engaged. Someone started a successful business. Someone looks happier, healthier, wealthier, more confident. Then you turn off your phone and lie in bed. Without realizing it, your brain starts comparing your behind-the-scenes reality with everyone else's highlight reel. Suddenly, your own progress feels smaller. Your future feels uncertain. Your confidence shrinks. The comparison doesn't always happen consciously. Sometimes it simply leaves behind a vague feeling that you're somehow falling behind. One of the most surprising psychological discoveries is that our minds naturally give more attention to negative information than positive information. Psychologists call this negativity bias. Imagine someone gives you 10 compliments during the day. Then one person criticizes you. Which one do you think your brain replays at midnight? For most people, it's the criticism. Not because they're pessimistic. Because the brain evolved to prioritize potential threats over pleasant experiences. Your ancestors survived by remembering danger more than comfort. Unfortunately, that ancient survival mechanism now keeps replaying awkward conversations instead of helping you escape predators. Another reason nighttime overthinking becomes so intense is decision fatigue. Every day, you make thousands of decisions. Some are tiny. What should I eat? Which email should I answer first? Should I exercise today? Others are much bigger. Should I change jobs? Should I stay in this relationship? Should I move to another city? By evening, your mental energy is lower. The brain becomes less efficient at filtering unnecessary thoughts. It's similar to how a tired security guard becomes less effective at controlling who enters a building. More random worries slip through. More emotional thoughts demand attention. And because you're tired, they seem more convincing than they actually are. One of the biggest misconceptions about overthinking is believing that you simply need to think harder. But clarity rarely comes from mental exhaustion. Think about your best ideas. Many of them probably didn't appear while desperately forcing yourself to solve a problem. They appeared during a walk. While taking a shower. While driving. Or shortly after waking up. Why? Because relaxed brains often connect information more effectively than stressed brains. Trying to force certainty at midnight is like trying to see clearly through muddy water. The harder you stir it, the cloudier it becomes. There's also something deeply human hidden inside nighttime overthinking. Many of the thoughts that surface aren't actually about tasks or schedules. They're about identity. Am I enough? Am I making the right choices? Does my life have meaning? Will people remember me? Am I wasting time? These aren't simple questions. They're questions almost every human being has asked at some point. The difference is that during daylight, life keeps us too busy to notice them. Darkness creates room for deeper reflection. Sometimes that's beautiful. Sometimes it's overwhelming. But recognizing this can remove some of the fear. Not every uncomfortable thought is a problem that needs fixing. Sometimes it's simply evidence that you're human. There's an interesting exercise psychologists often recommend. When a thought appears, instead of asking, "Is this thought true?" ask a different question. "Is this thought useful right now?" Those two questions produce completely different conversations. Maybe you're worried about a presentation tomorrow. Could something go wrong? Of course. But asking yourself that question repeatedly at 1 in the morning doesn't improve tomorrow's performance. It only steals today's rest. Your future self benefits more from sleep than from another hour of imaginary arguments. Another surprising truth is that your brain remembers unfinished experiences more strongly than completed ones. This is known as the Zeigarnik effect. Incomplete conversations. Unresolved conflicts. Goals you haven't reached. Promises you've made to yourself. These stay active in your mind because your brain wants closure. That's why writing things down before bed often feels so relieving. You're giving your brain evidence that the issue has been stored somewhere safe. It no longer has to hold everything in working memory. Many people spend years believing they have an overthinking problem. But sometimes they actually have an emotional avoidance problem. During the day, they stay busy enough to avoid uncomfortable feelings. At night, those emotions finally catch up. Loneliness. Grief. Disappointment. Fear. Hope. All the emotions postponed throughout the day quietly knock on the door once everything becomes still. The mind speaks because the heart hasn't been heard. Perhaps the most comforting realization is this. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Just because your mind produces a frightening prediction doesn't mean it will happen. Just because it repeats an old mistake doesn't mean you're still that person. Just because it asks difficult questions doesn't mean you must answer them before sunrise. Thoughts are events. Not commands. Not prophecies. Not facts. They come. They stay for a while. And eventually, they leave. The next time you find yourself lying awake while your mind races through old memories and imagined futures, remember something simple. Your brain isn't trying to punish you. It's trying, in its imperfect way, to protect you. It's searching for certainty in an uncertain world. It's looking for safety where none can be guaranteed. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do isn't to win the argument inside your head. It's to recognize that not every thought deserves a response. Because peace doesn't always come from finding every answer. Sometimes it comes from realizing that your mind can ask endless questions, and you can still choose to rest. After all, tomorrow's version of you will almost always see tonight's worries more clearly than the exhausted person lying awake in the dark. And perhaps that's the quiet lesson hidden inside every restless night. The mind becomes loud so that, eventually, we learn not to believe every voice it creates. If this helped you understand your mind better, subscribe for more videos like this.